This podcast is proudly brought to you in part by our wizards on Patreon. If you would like to support positive content, just head on over to patreon.com/MissMaryLou. That's patreon.com/MissMaryLou. Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. Les Brown. I was scrolling through trying to find a quote for today, and this one just it really hit me. And I thought I know for me personally, it was a good time to sit down and, remember those little reptars of fear in your brain that hold on to your just ideas and dreams and keep you from having them. Reptar. This is so very much that, and I feel like at this point, my reptars have gotten a little stronger than they were. So, your fears hold you back from going after what you want to achieve. That's yes. Do you have any sort of little reptars of fear in your brain holding you back from doing things? I know I certainly do. So thank you, Les Brown, for putting that very, very simply. It's just a one-sentence quote, plain and simple, but it's a good reminder, I think, for all of us. But anywho, hello, and welcome back to another episode of PositiviTea. This is the feel-good podcast where we bring you good vibes by the spoonful. I am your host, Miss Mary Lou Ryan, and I am so happy to be back in your ears or here on YouTube from my lovely positive cozy office, aka the front part of my kitchen by the window. Just hanging out, having a cup of tea. Oh, and speaking of tea, I should say this now before I forget. So last episode from last week was pre-recorded, so I didn't get to say something very important, but hey, my tea collection came out and it sold out in 9 hours. Who am I? What is happening? But the good news is the Miss Mary Lou collection with Tea Spectral is now on pre-sale again, so I guess this podcast is kind of sponsored by me. Woohoo! Just head over to teaspectral.com and you can find out. I'll put it in the show notes as well because it sold out so fast last time. I know a lot of people who really wanted to get their hands on it couldn't. So yeah, I wanted to give you a heads up. And if I had thought, enough ahead of time, I would be drinking one of my teas today. But I'm not, because this is just what I was craving today. So the tea that I'm drinking at the moment is just a plain Irish breakfast. I think it's from the grocery store, Trader Joe's specifically. Trader Joe's has good teas. They're good. Anytime anyone would ask me oh, how do I get into tea? Or if you are wondering, dear listener wizard people, yeah, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has great little teas and they're really inexpensive and I like to drink them. Yes. So it's an Irish breakfast. I was just craving a plain breakfast tea today. I have a little bit of maple syrup in this one. I put some oat milk in my cup this morning. And I was inspired to drink this based on our good news for this week. So I'll be sure to get to that later. But for now, I will take my kitty cat mug and enjoy a little bit of Irish breakfast. Anywho, talking about self-care experiments. If you remember from last week's self-care experiment, I was talking about making my surroundings and things that my eye can just kind of drift to, specifically when I'm working, but also in other areas of life. Just making it really positive, even putting some positive affirmations around, like my broken alarm clock that I wrote with a whiteboard marker that says breathe o'clock, or my whiteboard behind me that says boss lady, or I have a magnet board that's full of accomplishments and love from friends. just to kind of create an environment, or when I am working, when I am stressed, when I drift off, I have those things around me as reminders to breathe and just like feel good, like feel the good things. So how has that been going? It's been going awesome. I still love to be in this office, although I'm very conscious now of trying not to overdo my time in this office because I still want to enjoy it. So, yeah, so that's something I gotta be careful of because I just made it so fun that I just wanna sit in it all the time. So that's something to be conscious of because I do want this to be like a get done, be productive sort of space. So I'm wary of any sort of lounge time, but I love my breathe a clock, broken alarm clock. It makes me feel so good. And all of the other little touches, like it's not super done yet. I have some maps that I want to frame. Oh, yo, talk about adding little positive spins everywhere you look. I have a map, like a full poster size map of a Dungeons and Dragons map. Shout out to anyone else who watches Critical Role. I have the Taldore map from the marvelous mind of Matthew Mercer. I want to get that framed and put it on the wall. And I was gifted an interactive wand from Harry Potter World from my father, and all the interactive wands come with a little map of both the Florida park and the one in Los Angeles. And the maps are really, really pretty. It looks like aged paper, and the scripts are really nice. So I would really love to have a Harry Potter map framed and put up in the office because it's me. And that just, Dungeons and Dragons, Harry Potter, and tea. Yeah, that sounds like the kind of office that I would make. So here we are. So yes, I'm really enjoying the office and I'm planning on expanding upon it and just making it magical and wonderful. So for my self-care experiment this past week, I'm really glad that I did this because it has become a very necessary time in my life to put this back into practice. I'll give a little backstory. I guess I always do. When I was in college, I was very, very busy. I was a musical theater major, and on top of that, I took a lot of extra major level music classes and theory and all of that stuff because I really, really love the music component, and I had like a specialized concentration in opera specifically. I was already doing a major that some of the classes had to be 0 credits because otherwise it would be too many credits allowed for a single major. So I was already doing that. And then I was taking all these other freaking classes, not to mention all the extracurriculars, doing a lot of student-run productions and stuff like that. So it was crazy. I'm talking like 23 credits a semester crazy, and 18 is considered a full course load. Yeah, on top of taking classes for no credit and all these extra projects. And I think about how did I do that? How did I do that? Like honestly, I think about some people are going back to school that I know, and I'm just like I couldn't do that again. Because I did a little maybe too much. But how I got through it and stayed sane was that I took everything one piece at a time. Now, in college, when I was in and out of meetings and classes and rehearsals and practicing and whatnot, I would basically have to break everything down and take it hour by hour. Like, okay, for the next hour, all I have to do is get to the dance studio and have a meeting with my teacher about my test. All I have to do for the next hour is just sit here and cram some homework in, and then I'll worry about the hour after that. I got through basically on doing this with my time and also taking a lot of naps. So now, at this point in my life, this brings us to today, I have had a really, really busy last few weeks and am continuing to have crazy weeks. So as I mentioned earlier, we had the tea collection launch, which was a lot of work, a lot of love, and it went great. We're still just like floored about how everyone received it, and it's just so exciting. But before I could actually launch the collection with a video and all of the promo photos and stuff to go with it that I did myself, we had a launch party, and we both invited some friends over, and it was like a backyard tea garden party with, like, chandeliers made out of fluffy tulle and old book pages and teacups at every place setting with napkins tied in lavender. I mean, like, it was honestly, like, it was beautiful. It was a fairy tale, and I don't think anyone had any idea what was coming. And I do believe we knocked their socks off. It was great. However, and my collaborator, Steph, who is the creator, mastermind, master tea sommelier, blender person behind Tea Spectral, she did most of the work for this, but basically we put up the party ourselves. And that includes all of the decor, all of the catering, and everything. My good friend Kristen, bless her heart, she came like 2 hours to stay with me to come to this party, and she and I the night before just were endlessly chopping fruits and vegetables because I did a good chunk of cooking for it, as well as, like, I bought the compostable cutlery and the candles and the setup, but I do know my collaborator did most of the crafts and the setup and everything for it. Kind of stressful. And on top of that, I was like, well, I haven't edited the video yet, but I can't even think about the video until this party is over. So I've kind of been marking my weeks into milestone goalpost sort of things. Like one day it's like, okay, I'm gonna chop vegetables for the party. Or the day before I was like, all right, all I have to do today is edit this video to get it out so I can keep YouTube and the podcast going. It was a lot, but I think I would have been a lot more stressed out if I was trying to think of everything happening at the same time. It's just like, nope, one thing at a time. What do I have to do today? And that's all I have to do. I was even feeling this a little bit today because I have to record this episode and also edit a different episode that is coming out tomorrow for the channel. And it is just, I'm just trying to take it one thing at a time because otherwise I'm going to freak out and just not get anything done. And that's not great. We talked about procrastination last week, trying to be better about that. So, yes, that was a lot of words to basically mean I'm breaking things down by task or by timeline into smaller pieces so that I can digest the workload and just get it done. Community news. Welcome to our next segment, Community News. This is the part of the podcast where I take good news from you, the listeners, give you a little shout out and celebrate your general awesomeness. It's my freaking favorite part of the week, friends. I hope you are ready for some good news in your earballs. Again, I'm Miss Mary Lou on all the social media, and I do shout outs on all the platforms every week. And I got some really good stuff for you today. It's like all stuff I really love. So this first one is from Quantum Cyclop over on Twitter. Hello, Frederick. How are you? And he says, I'm running my first real Dungeons & Dragons campaign as a dungeon master with friends, and this is just after we finished The Lost Mines. Heck yeah, we got another dungeon master in the house. I love Dungeons and Dragons. Congratulations, Quantum Cyclops. So first of all, running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign is no small feat. You are the master storyteller guiding your players through whatever sandbox you have created for them. It sounds like you're using some kind of kit to get you started, which, like, yo, I really want to look at some of those because I literally said to my fiance today, my yearning for Dungeons and Dragons is so strong. I just want to get a kit and play and have fun. And if this is just after you finished, I'm hoping that it's going well and your players and yourself especially are having a really fantastic time. You know, running a game for someone is just, it's a showing of love. It's a special kind of gift that you give them, which it's like the gift of fun, fun and adventure and imagination. And there's nothing more magical than that. I love it so much. So Congratulations, Dungeon Master. You're a wizard, a dungeon wizard, which is awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that you're going. And like, hey, first timers, keep plugging along. They're like, we need good dungeon masters in this world, you know? So keep going. You're a wizard. Moving on. Next, we are headed over to Instagram to Adina Purple. Hi, Adina. Super talented, wonderful, awesome human. And she says she visited and met family in Israel this past week. Yo, this is so cool. I have to admit, I have been watching from afar, and I've really enjoyed seeing all of your pictures, Adina. And like Israel just looks like a really, really magical place. I'm so glad, A, that you get to go on this adventure, and B, that you get to meet like your family. That's all the heck away on the other side of the globe. So it's kind of like family, vacation, learning about your culture and your history all in one in a beautiful location. I hope you had a wonderful time. It looked like you had so much fun. And how exciting is that? I mean, like trips around the globe. It's always just like, oh, it makes my heart so happy. You're a wizard. You're a traveling wizard. Heck yeah. And then last, I'm hijacking good news. Again, I was good. I asked for good news like several days ago, so I didn't try to scramble at the last minute. But I do have something really big and really important happening this week. You remember how, my self-care, I was talking about just trying to focus on one thing, get that done, and then focus on the next thing? Yeah, so I am going to be a panelist, a speaker at VidCon US 2019, and my panel is happening the day that this launches. Today. Yeah, it's at like 1 p.m. Pacific, so right around the time that this podcast launches, I'm going to be in Anaheim doing the thing, trying not to freak out. For those of you that don't know, VidCon in the United States has a panel contest every year where anyone with less than 50,000 YouTube subscribers can submit a video answering a question, and you may get selected to be a featured speaker at VidCon. I'm one of 5 total winners. Everyone on the panel is super wonderful. It's been fun to like get to know them through their videos and through email and stuff like that. And we're all like nervous and wonderful and all at like very different stages in our video career journeys, which is like really cool. I'm glad that there's a good mix of different kinds of content and whatnot. So yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And honestly, I'm recording this, I think 2 days before I leave for VidCon. I haven't even really been able to concentrate on VidCon or really think about it until like yesterday. So basically like 3 days of preparation beforehand. Because once the tea collection launched and everything got crazy and we sold out, like I was having a lot of what are the next step kind of conversations much sooner than I thought was gonna happen, So yeah, really exciting, really fun. But when you're listening, I'll actually be doing my panel, or the panel will even be over. So send me your good vibes. No matter when you're listening to this, I'm excited to represent positive cozy tea parties, wizard fam goodness, and all of those things. Good news, everyone! There is always good news. Welcome to the last segment of our podcast for today, where I dive into the depths of the interwebs and find something feel good for you that's out there in the universe. Again, it is important to stay informed with the happenings of the world, but it is not good to let it bog you down to the point where you can't function as a human. Good stuff. So this week is a little bit different. It's not a formal article from a newspaper or a blog or something. This is something that I have found on the internet and have just fallen in love with, and it has done so much just for my general enjoyment and puts me in a great mood. I want to highlight a gentleman whose name is Monty McKinnon. He is a fantastic grandfather on YouTube, and he makes guitars by hand, which is just a beautiful art form. B, I love music. And C, he is also an avid tea drinker. So Monty McKinnon over on YouTube, it's a relatively new channel, but if you start from the beginning, he is taking everyone step by step through making one of his guitars, which is just a wonderful process to see. You can see all of his different jigs, he calls them, or little tools that help him create that make it a little easier. And I just find him to be such a joy. It's the way he uses language. He is Canadian. I'm partial to Canadians for some reason. I grew up about an hour from Canada or less my entire life. So I was frequently in Ontario because Ontario and New York are neighbors. Now that I think about it, I follow a lot of Canadians on YouTube. Oh well, birds of a feather, I suppose. So not only is Monty extremely knowledgeable with a lot of craftsmanship and decades of experience behind him, he is also just a lovely person to listen to and learn from. I find his slightly slower, well thought out timbre and rhythm in his notes just really soothing and uplifting. And he's talking about something that he absolutely loves. He has a passion for it and quite a wonderful story. Monty was born with a tremor in his hands, and he's always loved the guitar. He wanted to be a guitar player. It's what he always wanted to do. But because his hands were so shaky, he was unable to pursue that as a career path. So what he decided to do instead is to learn how to make beautiful guitars so that the guitar players of the world could have something extra special to play. How wonderful! How wonderful is that? Back to our quote, right? If you're living your fears, it's keeping you from living your dreams. He could have let this thing, just stop him from pursuing a career that has to do with music, that has to do with guitars specifically, but no. Monty found a way. Monty, oh my gosh, some of the guitars that he shows, my heart just melts. I keep calling Jacob over to the TV to watch, and he's like doing something else important, like cooking dinner or studying or something. And I'm like, Jacob, look at this guitar. And at the end of his videos, he doesn't do it at the beginning, like the first probably 5 videos or so. But since then, he has started ending his videos with, well, it's that time again. And he picks up this really pretty mug that he drinks usually English breakfast tea out of. So you've already watched this really engaging video of a man talking and showing you what he's passionate about. And then he just pulls out a cup of tea, usually English breakfast, and, says things like, oh, wow, I wish you were here to have some of this with me, or tell your boss right now at work that Monty says it's okay to kick back with a cup of tea and get some thinking and relaxing done. Or one of my favorites is, this stuff is so good, it should be illegal. And he takes his English breakfast with a touch of milk, by the way. And I am just, even talking about it, I am just so warmed. I'm so inspired by this man. And hence, I don't have any English breakfast in the house right now, actually. So I'm drinking some Irish breakfast. And I was feeling a little maple syrup today. So I did have it Monty fashioned earlier this morning with just some oat milk in it. And yeah, you just find some gems sometimes. And when you find them, like I was just so compelled to share. If I had a newspaper or something, I would write about Monty and make it official. But I thought for now, I really needed to share with you in the podcast about Monty McKinnon, the wonderful Canadian grandfather who makes his own gorgeous guitars and enjoys a cup of English breakfast regularly. Thank you, Monty, for picking up a camera and putting your love and yourself out on the internet to share with everyone. I think the world is definitely a better place for it. Okay, friends, I think that's it for our podcast for this week. Of course, if you want to hop on over to patreon.com/MissMaryLou to become a wizard and help support tea parties. We're at 6 wizards right now. My first goal is to get to 10 wizards. So if you want to make it wizard official, help me make this podcast and creating life more sustainable, I would so appreciate it. I think we talked about some great stuff this week. What are some things that you've been doing for yourself this week? I'd love to hear about it. You know, you can reach out to me at Miss Mary Lou on social media. I'd love to talk with you and chat about like what you're doing for yourself or something great that happened to you this week. I just find it so just exciting, and I love celebrating you and all of your awesomeness. All right, friends, I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Thursday. This podcast is lovingly produced, directed, written, and created by yours truly, Miss Mary Lou Ryan. Our music was composed and performed by Jacob Kahn. Our logo designed by Hilda Meyer Post. And if you'd like to spread a little positivity into the universe, I would love wherever you are tea partying with us to spread the words with those who could use a little cheer in their cuppa. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.